Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of FoolCraft, and there's not too much to report on over here. Expanded the wastelands a tiny bit, we're slowly getting there, and I haven't worked on the outside of the fortress for a couple of episodes now. I have been focused on the technical stuff with the rainbow power, and we're going to continue with that today's episode, but I want to pose a question. You can feel free to leave a comment down below. Would you like to see me work on the wastelands and the fortress? Would you like to see me continue do the technical stuff inside, or do you want me to go back over to the city of maybe and start a project over there? Because I've actually had some really interesting inspiration for that recently. So let me know with a comment, and right now what we're going to do is go down below and check out what we'll be up to this episode. So down here I've installed 3 more rows of these storage drawers, and I've upgraded this entire first set. They have all been set up with external storage. The priority has been set, and now this is the place that we're going to store some blocks. So you can see the vanilla ones right here. I've sort of been following the order that they're placed in this, their block IDs and all of that. And what we're going to be doing is generating tons and tons of cobblestone and then automatically creating the other materials from it. Like we can smelt it into smooth stone, we can crush and pulverize it into sand and gravel. Now this is interesting. What I need is actually probably a block of cobblestone. I've got these 2 machines here prepared. We're going to upgrade them and get them running around the clock. So we'll generate cobblestone using a cobblestone generator. I've got the parts here to create that, and then that means that this drawer is basically going to top out because it has all the upgrades in, but then we can take from that continuously and top out the sand and the gravel as well. So if I go down here and click U for uses, you will see that we can use a pulverizer and it gets sand with a chance of gravel, and if we go to a sag mill we get gravel with a chance of sand. So that's an interesting balance right there. That's why we're going to use both these machines, and they're from different mods, so that's going to be an interesting configuration. And that is just the start of why we are generating these materials. We will use them to create other things as well, like silicon for example, which we need to craft stuff, and we don't have a lot of it. It's not automated yet. This stuff comes from somewhere in here. Apparently it comes from quartz. Didn't it come from sand? Hang on. Yeah, no, wait, that was sand. Yes, compressed sand, and that will probably do regular sand. Excellent, into silicon. Right, that was my plan, to use the sand to make silicon, and then that's going to allow us to craft tons and tons of capacitor banks a lot easier, because currently we're being bottlenecked by the lack of silicon. So we will go down to the rainbow room. There will be a moment of lag, and I've got to jump. Never mind. Last time I was here, there was a ridiculous amount of endermites. Looks like one of them has managed to survive. And I put down this lava bucket as a temporary solution to kill them while I was offline, because this thing is loaded round the clock. And in fact, this thing is still just running all the time, isn't it? I need another solution for turning this thing off, because it's run through all of our pink dye, which means we're probably out of bone meal. Can I access our storage from all the way over here? No, we're too far away. Yikes, where I've left this online I might have made a huge mistake. Another thing to mention as well is this disenchantment generator over here. I'm getting tons upon tons of suggestions to use something other than books. So I'd like to remind you that the only thing that it accepts is books, and I don't know how to automate this, which is unfortunate. So for now the Rainbow Power project is kind of on hold until we get some other things working around the clock. And in order to get our bones back online, we need to use power again, and it's going to need a kickstart. But this time we're going to have all of the infrastructure in place to get it going. So I'm going to start work on our cobblestone generator. Going to place it somewhere down here where we've been doing other little technical bits and bobs, and we'll get those blocks going. So here we are with a cobblestone generator and a couple of machines. May have seemed simple to set up, but somehow takes a long time when you play modded. This thing just about keeps up with that, and I did bring a stack of upgrades with me, but you only put 20 in at a time. Oh, and you can only have 20. Alright, so I was going to comment that we might want an additional importer, but we'd actually have to make an additional cobblestone generator. So anyway, that has generated an insane amount of cobblestone. I doubt we're going to, run these other machines much faster. No real need to. That will fill up over time, and so will the other ones. So what took me a long time was setting up a dimensional transceiver and adding a new power channel, which has its own little setup down in the room, with all the power options. And this is really nice to set up. We got our machines at the top, and what I need to do now is just change this in out. So we insert on green and we extract on brown, and then we have an importer and an exporter down here. So the green one I think goes into this side where we are exporting cobble into, so that shoves it up to the machines above, and then this one will receive all the other items, and there's the next step. Now I need to put a speed and a stack upgrade in that importer to take them back down. So nice little bit of Ender IO logic there using the conduits, and that's how the machines get powered as well, and they're fully upgraded as you can see. This thing however can have some augmentation, and I think we might be able to increase the speed it runs at using this thing. I was about to starve to death. Look at my hunger. You know you've been concentrating when your hunger goes down that far. So something I forgot over here was just to add a couple of detectors. Now this one does sand as the priority, and that one does gravel, so I hooked it up with redstone so that they turn off when there's over 100,000. Now I'm not sure if that's the correct setting on that side, but anyway, we'll figure that out with time. And these things can store 106,000, so basically when it gets close to being full, those things are going to stop generating. Now a friend of mine has shown me a solution to our problem down in the rainbow room, which is really cool, and actually we want to go back down here because I've added a couple of auto crafting. So there's something called a wither diamond. This is made using a nether star and a diamond, and then it goes shiny like that, which is seriously cool, and you can use that like you craft a shovel. So there it is. Yeah, 2 of those and 1 of them, and you get this thing right here which has Unbreaking X on it. Now in here it looks like a regular shovel, so I turned off the all dictionary on that one to make sure it uses the wither diamond and the stick, and that's exactly what it does, and this all works because of MBT data. So it has 16 of those in the system, and what we're going to do is automatically export them over here, because apparently they will work with the disenchantment generator even though it doesn't appear right here. So I don't know what that's about, but apparently that's a thing, and I've been withered, which is just pleasant. So this thing was in the way, and I've put an exporter there now, and it should be exporting this thing, and it is actually working. So that's fantastic. We can use our diamonds and nether stars to get this generator running around the clock. Well, that is just superb. Every generator is working except one. This one wasn't working a second ago. Now when I first set this up it worked fine, exporting those lava eggs into the fluid tank, no problem. Then it stopped working, so I figured, well, let's put a pool on the side. That didn't work either, and so now what we got to do is change it over so that there's a container here. So let's set that like so. The eggs go into there, and then this thing actually picks them up and generates lava again. And if we stick our head up here, yes! I love that sight. Check it out. Oh, it stopped. It generates power so quickly that this thing fills up and then it turns off again. Well, we've got to see a glimpse of it. I'm sure we'll see more of it this episode. So we have 2 new machines over here. For some reason in my mind the thing that we needed was silicon, which yes we need for some stuff, but actually the thing we needed the most was from coal, this pulverized stuff right here, and for some reason I cannot get it to work over here with this dark steel. Now I've changed the recipe to use the different types of coal available, but it never wants to make this stuff despite me having everything that I need. I don't know what's up with that, but you'll see that all of our other alloys over here are very active, and that's because I've upped the numbers big time. We're going to create huge stockpiles of resources now because we are generating some of the base materials out of nothing, which is really cool. So you can see over here we're stockpiling a few of these. It's this stuff right here and that stuff that we need to make that liquid pytherium stuff that boosts our ore processing, which we're going to do later on, not today for sure. Anyway, with all of that done, we can now go and craft a whole bunch of vibrant capacitors. In fact, I think it should be set up to do it automatically. We can make those things and those things as well, and we've got loads of those stockpiled. So let's just make an entire stack right now. We actually have all the materials we need to make that. That is incredible, and off it goes making a stack. Well, while it's doing that for us, what we're going to do is pop down below and we're going to turn on some things over here because I want to show you how the whole power system is doing, alright? We've got a full bank over here that has no problems whatsoever. And now we're going to go and turn on our quarry, which runs at 10k. There it goes, sucking up all the juice. We're going to also turn on this woot farm, which I believe may use an extraordinary amount to begin with. Hi, you're doing nothing. That's not what I expected to see. I'll investigate that in a moment. Well, we'll turn the doors on as well, I guess. So we're now sucking up a whole bunch of extra power. When we come over here, you'll see that everything is absolutely fine. And that's because the rainbow farm is plugged into it. So let's pop up top. Go down to the rainbow room, and you will see right here that we are now draining 13,000 RF per tick. So 10,000 of that was from the quarry. That's the one that we turned on, so that's running really fast. And there you go, it blinks for a second because it drains, and it'll do that every now and then. We've still got this lava here. It's very bad. We will remove that later on. And also, snow has appeared around here from the Frosty generator, which is something it didn't do for the longest time, and now it's decided to throw some of it down. Anyway, what we're going to do with those vibrant capacitor banks is expand this area here. I need to leave the redstone there temporarily so the thing can keep doing what it's doing. But with all of our generators now running around the clock, it's time to expand this operation. And these ones over here, by the way, they backed up. They filled up all the way. And in order to fix them, I had to set this thing to output on each side. And that's for the 4 of them here. So something must have messed up with that conduit. And now I'm withered, which is just disgusting. But we're going to go grab our vibrant capacitor banks. We've got 49 of them so far. And let me show you how we are going to arrange this. I'd like to know how long I'm withered for. Just a couple more seconds. Okay, so I want it so that we have these things coming out of the ground like legs and then making their way into the center, which is going to look weird when it's on the diagonal. So maybe something like that. I'll try and make that look reasonable. Actually, do you know what? I think that's going to look pretty cool. We've got to remove some of these other ones here, but that shape is kind of cool. And anyway, these legs go down into the ground. I'm going to have to right-click the sides and remove all of that stuff. But then below, what we're going to do is have a massive bank. In fact, I'm going to fill up the entire space right here full of these things, and then we can go down a couple of levels as well. And as we get more and more materials to make these vibrant capacitor banks, we will add more and more of them like this. But each time we do this, we are increasing the bandwidth, and look at that now. 1.8 million RF per tick. That is absolutely insane. Look at this bandwidth. It's completely bonkers. Oh. So I left this thing running overnight with our system crafting loads of these vibrant capacitor banks, and it certainly made a load, but we've run into some resource problems, basically. We'll get to that in a second, though. So here's what I want to do down the bottom. I want the bank to be open and for you to be able to walk through the middle of it, and then we can use these sides to display information about the power, which is really cool. So this is going to be like a platform here, and then we can extend this thing downwards below it, which is going to be cool. Now I can hear an endermite down here, and that's slightly worrying because I have actually set up a relocator over here. It's got its own power channel and a dimensional transceiver, and what it should do is take the endermites, teleport them over here, and they'll end up dying in the lava. But that one seems to be out of range, although this thing has a range of 96 blocks, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe I missed a step. Maybe this thing requires... Nope, it's good without a signal, and it's getting power as well. Who knows what's up with that? Anyway, so we're going to have a room down the bottom here. I've made a pathway around the outside, and for the ceiling I've taken this material and extended it across. So we'll probably have this block come across to the side, and then in the corners some lighting, and it covers up this cable, and then there'll be a wall on the other side. It's all very straightforward stuff. But this little patch right here, what I want to do is grab the texture from up top and chisel and bits it, so we have this rainbow stripe going around at the bottom there. I think that would look really cool as well. Now we've got another endermite, and you're not getting teleported to the relocator. Maybe that thing runs very slow. I'll have to keep my eye on that. Anyway, I said that we ran out of resources. Here's something interesting. So we have 0 sand in the system. I'm a little bit amused as to why there's so little of it, but I think it's because 2 of the machines over here, they run with no power in them, which is really strange because the cables we're using provide, I think it's 5,000 RF per tick, so I don't understand why they're not getting enough power, but I believe that's what's actually slowing down the amount of sand that we have. The other thing that we've run out of is gold, because we've been making loads and loads of these things. Actually, that's not the right one. Which one is the right one? One of these over here requires gold, basically, and so it's throttled everything else that we're doing as our gold supply has completely diminished. So I thought, as a temporary fix, what we would do is turn on the quarry and all of that sort of stuff. So down the bottom here, I've got it running at full blast. I've upgraded some of the capacitor banks here. This thing's going at 11,000 RF per tick, and everything here is running as well, including our root farm at 15,000 RF per tick, and now you can see there's some new things set up over here, the relocator for example.
and we're still not getting enough gold. So I decided what we would do is farm up some of the dragon bits and bobs, which now have their own frame drawers over the back here. You see we've got loads of dragon's breath. And funny fact for you, when I checked on this earlier, we were actually down to 2 bottles because I'd turned off the wheat farm. So my whole system was about to break because the rainbow power wouldn't kick in. So I got there just in time. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn that off now for a while as it will run okay. And we're going to put in a new mob. You can probably guess what it is. Mob controller, and that's right. Oh, it's a zombie. Well, that's actually a zombie pigman. It'll be interesting to see what that does then. I can't remember if there's a way for me to monitor items. So what we'll do is we'll take off system import and I'll see if this thing fills up with rotted flesh. And that's what I wanted to see, golden nuggets. So it is zombie pigman. It's also getting all of the armor from them as well. That's fascinating. Okay, we can set that back then. That's the one. Was that the vibrant alloy? Yeah, this is what required gold. So now that's going. And that's excellent. We've solved that problem. This relocator business just isn't working. There were endermites everywhere a second ago, but because I left the area, I believe they despawned. This thing over here, what's up with the RF? It's got its own dimensional transceiver. Well, I think I know what the problem is, and we'll come back to that in a second as we're going to make some modifications to our power system. Right now, though, we need to suss out the logic for controlling this thing, and I think I got the solution, okay? What we're going to do is create a flip-flop, that's the name of it, that's going to turn on this system or the rainbow power to fill up this bank. Now currently what it's doing is it's ticking over like the mid-range, so when it drops below a certain point it bumps back up again. And it does that over and over again, which isn't probably too efficient. What we want this thing to do is to go all the way down, and then when it's around the bottom go all the way back up, so we don't constantly turn it on and off. So here is the redstone circuit. It's not compacted, it's not finished, it's mainly here to demonstrate what's going on, as there's probably going to be issues with the way the wire is laid out at the moment. This bit is probably the most important. This is a flip-flop. There'll be one item that's moved between the 2 droppers as they face into each other, and when the item is on this side, it's going to turn on the comparator, which will turn on the rainbow power system. So one input, the one that sends the item from this side to that side and turns that on, is the one that's going to detect when the power is low. So when this goes all the way down to the bottom, the signal that this outputs is going to get weaker and weaker. And when it's low enough, this thing on subtract mode will then have a stronger signal from this side that it will then power the redstone and it will power that. So it will send the item over to that side, it will turn the thing on. Now this one's going to work the other way around. We're going to be subtracting with a strong signal from this dropper the measurement that this comparator is making. So it's only when it gets filled up enough that this is then stronger than that it sends a signal that way and it moves the item back over to this side and stops the power. That's the concept. It will work. I will make it work and I'll compact it and I'll make it look nice and neat, and we'll come back to that in a moment and I'll show you it when it's finished. So as I mentioned a moment ago, we have a problem with our relocator not receiving enough power. The bandwidth here can clearly go higher than that, and I believe I know how to fix this, but it's a bit of a strange problem, and if you remember the collaboration we did with Iskall, we kind of touched on this before. So the way these cables are supposed to work is that they have unlimited bandwidth, except they can only take in as much as the connections allow, and each one allows just over 5,000. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. It could be a case of there's just too many connections over here, that it doesn't distribute it evenly, but when I was using less than that amount of power overall, it was struggling to distribute it, and I think that this is a big cable going all over the place and that's causing it some problems. So here's what I want to do. I want to break up the cable so there's only one cable between each of these capacitor banks and this one over here. And the way to do that, I believe, and also I think this is now redundant because of the new power system that we got, but I believe that the way to do this is to extend this capacitor bank around the side and make it so it comes around the back here, and each one of these can create a connection directly, and it should do a better job of sucking the power out of this thing right here. It's a bit of a strange concept, but we're going to give it a try and we will see what happens. So this has made a change. This is now filled up to the top, but it still seems to be drawing the same amount of power. Overall, this looks like it was the right decision. What one is that? That must be turned off? It is Woot 2, and if you look at the amount that it's using, it's the maximum bandwidth of the connection, so we need to add a couple more conduits there. Otherwise though, this change seems to be okay, but the way we'll be able to tell, and I've got a feeling it's not going to be fixed, is with that relocator. So let's jump down to the bottom here, go have a look. I can hear some endermites, and it's still not charged up. I don't get that. Why is the bandwidth so terrible? Can I, like, pull power from... Oh no, it wants to pull items. Let's not do that. Okay, let's leave that alone, actually. And I can hear some endermites in the area still. There you go, look, there's one down here somewhere. That relocator is not doing its job. There is an awful noise in my ear. Yeah, I just logged back into the game after I haven't played for a while. And there's endermites everywhere and they've killed me. That's not going very well, is it? Let's see if we can get our stuff back here. I mean, I can't fly. The room is full of endermites. I should probably take a lava bucket with me. Yeah, this next bit might be quite painful, you know. Let's see what happens when we go here. Quickly put that down. Yes, it kills me. It also kills all of them. I hope it doesn't destroy my grave. Oh, and this is right over the top of where I need to teleport to. This is going to take me a while, isn't it? There's a fella here who doesn't look like me, but apparently that's my ghost. Am I Steve right now? I know I'm not Steve, but that guy certainly was. Alright, we need a few more of these. The system is crafting them. I found another problem down here that I had to fix. I swear I keep changing these things back and forth. This stopped being made because that was in the wrong mode. And I finally figured out why we had 0 sand. However, we still have 0 sand. So the speed at which I was pumping the cobblestone into these machines wasn't actually fast enough. And now you can see they always have a full stack over here. So my theory was, and I realise I've got this the wrong way around, this one does gravel, right? So I downgraded the capacitor on this machine, which... Right, yeah, I need to downgrade the speed. No, I'm actually very confused right now. I think the deal is this thing processes the sand quicker than this stuff can make it here. Because I haven't put any speed upgrades in there, so we've taken that out, and hopefully that means this will back up, and then the sand will be able to stock up over there as well. But you probably heard about that too many times now. Let's get down to the rainbow room. Let's show you how this thing is going to finish up. So what I've done is I've hooked up our transmitter to this signal, to this circuit, and I've compacted it. It is pretty much the same thing, except where the redstone line was going to be, we now just have a block and we have these two things. And I've actually thought of a really cool way to test this. So over here we have that, so it's going to be basically anything around this range is going to override that. When we get down to the bottom, it's going to have a stronger signal. The way we're going to test that is by breaking this block. And there you go. So now that has turned on the rainbow generator up the top, and since it's not going to change back just yet, we can go up there and look at it, although it might actually change back. Let's look at the battery. It's now full, and that's interesting because when it's full, this thing is supposed to override that. So let's take out some of that cobble. Is this one of those? Oh no, look, it worked. It powered it and it turned it off. Excellent. So now, yeah, now it's done. That's it. The circuit works. Very cool. So this thing will slowly drain, and the only time it now gets turned on again is when that is all the way down here at the bottom and this signal is stronger. Really cool stuff. And what I want to do is put this thing inside of a cage and have it like on display. And as for the rest of this room, I don't really have the time to do too much more, so I've got a few more of these banks I want to finish this thing off basically. So in the middle here, I'm probably going to put some pillars and maybe something else as well. And on those pillars we can put these kind of meters, so you can come down here and look at the output. But that output is everything that's being pushed through to our other system, and it all goes through this, which I think I'm going to move up by one, and then have 4 of them in total so that we can move 200,000 around at once. But obviously at the moment we're only using 25,000. And that's the project right there, really. It's coming together pretty well. We'll do some more work on the room down below in the future. The redstone's been hooked up. We've done all sorts of stuff that's taken me a lot of time. Sometimes it looks like I don't do too much when we're not building, and all of this technical stuff is just a little bit crazy. But anyway, that is it from me this episode of FoolCraft. I do hope you have enjoyed it, and if you have, leave a like on the video. As always, thank you so much for your support, and before we go, one last thing I think we should check is how many of these we now have. 10k! Wow! We have got to do something with that very soon. Maybe we'll do something next episode. Anyway, that's going to be it from me. Ciao for now. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.